Today's episode is a bit special. I'm sharing a great conversation I had with TJ Bennett when I was a guest on DesuckifyWork Podcast. I thought this conversation was so valuable that I wanted to share it with you all here. So let's jump right in.
The idea of job security is outdated as a landline. If you haven't been in a search for a while, it's probable you will at some point, by choice or not. Most executives admit to staying way too long, or sense what's coming and justify staying anyway. There's another reason. The faulty belief that navigating to what's next will inevitably be worse and has to suck. Screw that. Loren Greiff has spent a lifetime in corporate and executive search, calling bullshit on stale career advice that most still use. This is Career Blast in a Half, the career podcast for executives ready to cut past outdated career advice to fuel your outcomes now. So let's go.
I think we all want to believe we're relevant, and maybe we're clinging to some experience we had where we felt relevant and therefore believe we are always relevant. How good of a job do you find that people who come to you, how well are they understanding what makes them relevant? Or is there a lot of work for them to figure out that there's something underneath?
Well, I think that's an excellent point, right? What is relevance? I mean, in this context, right? What does it mean to be relevant in the market?
Yeah.
And, in full fairness, hand to heart, we don't know what we don't know. I mean, I don't know jack about whatever that is. This is our area. This is my area. I will say I am a student of the market. I am studying the market like literally, 27/8. I'm eating it up because it's a dynamic. It's dynamic. It's affected by so many factors, internal and external.
Yeah.
So wrapping your head around this does require a lot of commitment in order for me to serve our people better, our audience better, anybody who's listening. In order for me to serve you right now, I cannot come to this interview or any others without knowing my shit.
Yeah.
It's just not fair. So that's a responsibility that I think is very important. So relevance, back to your great question, relevance is really more about shorthand, staying of the moment, more literal translation. Specifically, what that would mean in the world of your job search. Here we go. First is you are not waiting, you are creating opportunities. No passivity, waiting for things to happen, this, that, the other. We are in an entrepreneurial type of job, period, right? Fortune will favor the bold.
Yep.
You don't see it out there, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You know that there's a need, you see that there's a hole in that organization, go create that job. Don't wait for a recruiter to call you, or I don't see it. That's passive.
Yeah.
Okay. Other relevant areas are what we like to call sticky storytelling. Sticky storytelling are things that would sound something like this. I'll give you an example. But before I do that, I'm going to give you the opposite of a sticky story.
Okay.
You can hear it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put good money, maybe even a coffee on this. Once you hear this, your head is going to go, So it's a very non-sticky story that kind of slips away that everybody else says is, I'm a proven executive with 20 years of experience. I have a clear track record. I'm a seasoned executive. I see your head nodding.
Who isn't?
Right? Who isn't?
Yeah.
That is a script that we all, to some degree, learn the way that most of us probably don't sign off their emails sincerely.
Yeah.
Right? Dear sir or madam.
Right.
Sincerely.
Right.
And so those are dead giveaways, even like immediate tells that you are not relevant.
Yeah. Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you hear that, you're like, this person is just like, from another era.
Yeah, and it just feels like wallpaper.
I'm going to tell the sticky story in context of this conversation.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you this question. So, when was the last time you finished a chapstick?
I'm not even sure, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Have you ever had a chapstick?
Yeah.
Like maybe more than one?
Yeah.
Okay. So I bring this to light because you will never forget what I'm about to say. It's sticky.
Okay.
The chances of you finishing a chapstick are less than 1%. That's the same percentage as getting your resume or any application through an applicant tracking system.
Wow.
That's how small the percentage is. That's how infinitesimal that is. And that's all of job applicants.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say it's never going to happen, but either am I going to say you're never going to win the lottery.
Right.
So all of these efforts, and again, I'm hoping that when you hear that, when you think about that, or any of your listeners are thinking about what it means to press that apply now, I want you to think I just pissed away a half an hour of my time.
Wow. So how do you move people from, wow, that's a depressing stat, to there's hope for me?
So the opposite of that, here's the separate list of stats, metrics, proof points, is that when you are a referred candidate, so I say, hey, TJ, guess what? I think that you should talk to this person and this person over at the company because, I remember hearing that was on your target list, or I know that this is like, I know you're a fan of, XYZ brand.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Once that introduction is made and you have a compelling reason why you are there to change their business and solve their problem, that referral typically lands not only in a quarter of the amount of time, but they know that person is more valuable to the organization. Your chances are literally about something like, I think it's like 56 or 57% higher of landing. So you just took the less than 1% and you literally magnified it 57, almost 57 times.
Wow.
But here's the catch. Here's the catch. Everybody wants easy.
Yeah.
Right? They want easy. So they keep pressing the button, and then it works. It works like almost like a bad suit, right? Take it off. You can't take it off because you've built that habit of just thinking it's supposed to be like this. Building your network requires work. That's why it lasts as long. Nothing. No, you'll learn nothing when you press that button. You'll learn about everything you need to know from the people that are in your network, from the people who are going to support you, from the people you want to lift up that are going to call you in 3 years from now and say, hey, you know what, TJ? I remember the solid that you did with me and for me.
Yep.
Would you be open to talking, to us about such and such?
Yeah. I love the ending career victimization, that thing. I mean, I think it's so easy to slip into that role. And in some ways we make ourselves so dependent on the external affirmations and things like that for whether we feel somewhat good about it or terrible about it. And so when the market's not as great as it could be, wow, we're all almost swimming in the victim mentality, right? And on one hand, I'm like, well, hard to blame people for getting there, but obviously not serving them, not serving anybody to be there. So how what are some steps that help people start to realize that they can move from that to more of like a creative space, an ownership space?
So that exercise in and of itself is a huge unlock, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you felt it in here.
Mm-hmm.
I've said it probably 100 different times. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
literally. And it was not an overnight kind of thing that got me there.
Yeah.
But once I got there, and once we help other people get there,
Mm-hmm.
it's a freedom. It's a
Yeah.
huge freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And other things start to happen. So that's the first area. Now it's taking that idea, taking that concept, taking the context,
Mm-hmm.
and translating it into other touch points, right? How does this framework that I just shared, the why, ending career victimization, how does that and these other things of elevate, accelerate, and celebrate, how do those other things get executed or manifested in my why on every level?
Mm-hmm.
So, an example that I would share is I took that Spartan race. I had a video, I posted it on LinkedIn. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because I talk to people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and gosh darn it, if I could do this at 58, so can you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's elevating, accelerating, and celebrating myself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm an embodiment, and so are you, of whatever that why is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If I am promoting, so to speak, or I am standing in the space of the contribution is ending career victimization, but you better bleep and believe that I'm not going to be standing in my own victimization.
Yeah.
Those two things have to talk to each other.
Yeah.
So you'll see me putting myself in not crazy, but very vulnerable situations.
Mm-hmm.
I do that because I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm just another bozo on the bus, learning and growing in the process.
Yeah. I'm for some reason just fell in love with that phrase, the bozo on the bus. I really love that. But I also I like what I'm hearing is this like, to sort of put it as simply as I can, you're walking the walk for yourself and you're modeling
Totally.
the
That's why
behavior.
nobody can take away your why.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody can take this away from me. It's
Mm-hmm.
embodied in me. And that's what we want for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we want for every listener. That's what we want for every person that we talk to, whether we work with you or not.
Mm-hmm.
You can stop by my LinkedIn at any time and you're welcome. And, not you're welcome.
Right.
You're welcome there.
Yes.
You're welcome there. And, no skin off my back and, glad to have you. You don't want to stay? Great. Like, no problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I'm not doing this for anybody. I'm doing it with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's a lot that we get to do and desuckify the process. And
Mm-hmm.
I've always said, I wish I knew how to get here a little earlier on in my life. No big deal.
Yeah.
But I think the aspiration is to skip to work on Monday or Sunday, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Crave that, but you got to get some skin in the game to get there.
Yeah. I think a couple of things are interesting there. One, I'm curious for you. Do you find yourself slipping towards the victim side, and do you have any tools or ways you can find yourself coming back into that, stepping more into your creative, empowered self?
Oh, yeah. It's the short answer to the first question.
Yeah.
It's the short answer.
Yeah.
So I fall into it, maybe not as much as I did before. I don't fall into it as much with my work as much as I ever used to. Where that comes in is the life of an entrepreneur is tireless. There's a lot to it. I have fortunately a team, but for example, if I go on vacation, I still feel like it's kind of like
It's
around
there.
like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just can't like fully disengage because that's
Yeah.
my better.
Mm-hmm.
Or, things like that. Or, sometimes when I am, especially like when some software doesn't work out, and I'm just like, where's my help desk? There isn't one, it's
Yeah.
like that. Or, just if somebody blows off a call, let's be
Mm-hmm.
honest. Somebody blows off a call and you're like, seriously?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I personally turn to spiritual solutions. I'm a very woo-woo kind of person.
Okay.
And it appears to be, how it appears on the surface isn't really what it is. We just made up that story. So there's
Yeah.
something larger at play.
Mm-hmm.
There's something bigger. The factual world as we know it, the physical and factual world, just a very, very, very small part of the reality.
It makes me think about, like, you use some good examples there that, if somebody blows off a call, your brain can go to, they don't like me. They don't want to work with me. I'm not good enough. Da, 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 da. And like, to recognize that that's all coming from this place.
It's very noisy. It's
Yeah.
very noisy.
Mm-hmm.
And stay away from the negativity.
Mm-hmm.
Put yourself away from a lot of that doubt.
Yeah.
Stay in the place of certainty.
Yeah.
Once you get some footing,
Yeah.
literally keep
Coming back
looking
to
at
it.
the roots and going
Mm-hmm.
like, you know who you are. Sure, I'll go through periods where we wonder, but that's just noise.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not real. It's,
No, we make it real.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
We can also make it unreal. And we have both, right? I have a dear friend
Yeah.
who always says, for all the times that we're doubting, why don't we spend that much time doubting our doubt?
That's such a cool way of looking at it. And every once in a while I can get to that realization, but man, those doubts feel so damn real.
Yeah.
They feel like capital T truth in the
Right.
moment, right? And then you really have to find a way, and this maybe connects to you, maybe some of the spiritual answers or whatever your way of stepping back from a moment and really being able to see one without judgment, and to see, sort of like, remove yourself from the thing and get a little bit higher level view. That seems to be when you can figure out, like, oh, that is noise, and I can choose to ignore it.
It's coming in by invitation.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, come on in. I got some coffee and some cookies. I just made them. They're warm. Would you like to stay for 2 hours and sit here and go on them?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, keep feeding this beast. And it's like, no way. Bye-bye. Here's the door.
I'm with you on that. As you talk about a lot of this stuff and the moving from the sort of victim to, more empowered kind of mentality, one of the things that I notice, and this is true for me, it's not just with others, but like, we can be so afraid to take a chance on ourselves. And yet what I notice, at least for me, is I can be so damn confident in others. Like, I can go, you should totally do this thing. You're perfect for it. Like, your why is like screamingly visible to me. I know who you are. And yet when it comes internal for me, and I've seen it in others, it's like somehow we have this block. Do you have ways of helping people move through that block? I mean, I imagine it starts with some of the stuff we've talked about, but is there anything else that can help create that mindset shift?
I think the biggest mindset shift that I see with people and their clients is, and I had this, it's so funny. I had this yesterday. I was on the phone with a prospect and I said, what would you like to walk out of this call with? And I want to know how I can create, I don't want to keep going through all these different changes. I'm looking for some level of security. So I said, well, that I completely understand. But now my question to you is, so what are you going to do when I tell you that there is no job security anymore?
I am blowing the lid off of our best kept secret, our 30-day blast program. Yep, you heard it. 30 days. We have seen so much success for this program that past clients have landed in that 30 days and increased their compensation 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, over 100%. Now, not everybody lands and earns that much in 30 days, but my point is it prepares you. And in 30 days, if you're not out of there with a changed mindset and changed clear and simple ways to be able to navigate the market this year, then we'll gladly refund your misery and you can go back to applying now. Check out the link below for the next 30-day blast, and we would love to have you there because we live for your success, and that's what's really important. See you then.
That's gone. So you're chasing something that no longer exists.
Yeah.
The same way that you might be chasing a typewriter that has been replaced by a computer, that's been replaced by an iPad, that's been replaced by an iPhone, that's going to be replaced by, some other device. And so these ideas, again, not relevant, right? So, the name of the game isn't reliability, it's adaptability. So really anchoring yourself in some of the truths about what it is versus what we want. We're not here to change the way that evolution is showing up.
Yeah.
And there is right now a massive, massive gap between those that are clinging on to this belief system that there is a reliability, and I could use the metaphor of the gold watch or any of that kind of stuff. Like, oh my God, I can't believe that I was laid off. And somebody said to me this same person said, I'm looking for reliability. I said, hold on a minute. 30,000 people were laid off between Thanksgiving and New Year's, some by text and some by email.
Yeah.
So if that isn't a signal, then it's going to be hard, and you can't change that.
Yeah.
Join the party, or go hang out, someplace else where you're going to see some kind of difference for you, because you're creating more of a gap than there needs to be. You need to be the mover, not the market.
It's such on the one level, it's like, wow, that's a harsh reality. But then underneath it, as I hear what you've been talking about, and as I think about, even what I've tried to help some of my own clients see, it's like the way to find something that feels like stability, for lack of a better word, is inward, not there. Like that stuff's a mess out there. It's a mess, and it's getting messier, to your point. But when you bring in the firm rooting of knowing your purpose, your why, what grounds you, and then being willing and able to adapt and bring that adaptability with you, there can be a growing sense of confidence, which can lead to at least an emotional stability around, like, whatever comes my way, I'm ready for it because I'm doing the things to make myself ready for it. So it's a shift of like expecting the world to slow down for you versus taking on the behaviors and the habits for yourself that allow you to move through that world with a feeling of confidence that can at least feel somewhat stabilizing. Do you see that in folks you work with, and do they see that change, that suddenly like any sense of stability is coming from here and not from some expectation?
Oh my, all the time. One of my favorite stories to share is a guy comes in right after he got laid off around Thanksgiving time, not this past Thanksgiving, the year before.
Mm-hmm.
He told me he wanted to become Brad 3.0. He just fresh off of a divorce in
Mm-hmm.
his 50s, engaged, and his fiance said, please do not tell anybody that you've been laid off. I don't want my to know.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was kind of projecting some of her fears onto him.
Yeah.
And he was in a little bit of a state, right?
Yeah.
And while he is in his state, he's also telling me, I go to Orange Theory 4 times a week. I break records. I went to this school and, I started this club. I did this, this, and this. So these two things are not like, there is crossover. But
Yeah.
when you're in that place, it's easy to think that none of that is there and that the outside world is going to just absolutely swallow up all of that goodness.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually went through, I repeated what he just said to me. I said, these things, they're in you. You
Right.
created each and every one of these things. Nobody hauled your sorry butt to Orange Theory every single day.
Mm-hmm.
You did that. If you could do that, you can do this.
Yeah.
And so we forget. We need other people to remind us. We also need to build new muscles so we don't forget.
That's interesting. I mean, how does that show up in terms of the building new muscles?
The more challenges, and I don't mean like crazy challenges, I mean very smart, strategic challenges you take, you're building your confidence muscle.
Yeah.
We've all heard this. It's so cliche, staying in your comfort zone, that doesn't build your confidence.
Right.
That it reinforces that you can't, rather than something that I say even to myself, give your chance a chance. A chance already.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting because when you talked about the story with this guy going to Orange Theory and breaking records and doing all this stuff, what I notice in a lot of people, and I'm sure it's in me, and I notice it sometimes when I'm working with a coach, like we're so like we don't give ourselves credit for how we have overcome any particular challenge. And I don't know if it's some default setting that presumes like, if I can do it, it must not be that hard. But there's some story that feels like it goes around that like all those things I did, they didn't feel that hard. So therefore they must
now
not.
They don't, because they're in your rearview mirror.
You did them. Right.
I know.
Yeah.
Fine.
And so like we end up discounting all of the areas where we've moved through challenge. And then when there's a challenge that we're kind of stuck on, we think, well, I don't have the tools to navigate this. And yet it's like, you've been doing it.
It's new. It's new. Anything that's new is gonna like smart in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh boy, like I'm, on sure footing.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, everybody says that they want to grow until it becomes uncomfortable. And then it's like, thanks anyway.
I can both, I've seen that and externally and internally, so I can appreciate that statement. One of the things that I think of this on your website, you mentioned like focus on your fulfillment rather than the job search. And I thought it's a really interesting statement, and it feels rooted in truth, but I can also imagine for a lot of folks, it's like, yeah, but I really want a job or a better job. So how...
That's not how people. We're not here to help. If you want to find a job, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's,
yeah.
Work with a recruiter, go work with, a job board that is a plug and play.
Yeah.
I say that with all the love in my heart, because if you want something different, you're going to have to do something different. And that's more of the same.
Yeah.
And so I'm not here to help you just, match what you have. I'm really here to advocate for what you don't have, but want.
You mentioned this concept of relevance a few times, and I also noticed this on your site. I thought it was really interesting. You had kind of a scale. I don't remember exactly, but some from basically like irrelevant all the way up to, I think it was remarkably different. And, I think for a lot of us, it's like hard to think of ourselves that way. It almost feels like, how could I, like, it's almost egotistical to be like, I'm remarkably different. What does that really mean? And what am I doing? If we're
Sure.
working together, what am I doing to unearth my remarkable difference?
Sure. I'm just going to put it in a little context so that people can hear. Where most people come in is I'm qualified.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm qualified means I've got the baseline skills. Nobody hires for I'm qualified. Because everybody who's applying believes that they're qualified.
Yep.
Right. So it's a self-selected audience. So you come in, you're qualified. The next step is to be different, right? Now, I have all the stuff. And then afterwards, I'm a little bit different.
Yeah.
But now what I want to know am I just hiring difference for difference sake? I'm hiring different so that you're going to be able to literally drive that point of difference through my company and stand out in a way that is going to, if you're different, that's good. But again, better is to be remarkably different. Unapologetically remarkably different. To be able to have a point of view. This is why people talk about thought leadership. Leadership, by the way, which could be anything. It could be comments. It could be being on a podcast like this. It could be writing your own content. It could be, doing something like going to an event and being on a panel. Those are thought leadership opportunities that increase your price point significantly. Significantly. Because people like leaders who have something to say.
Yeah. I feel like for a lot of folks, it's like the remarkable part is where there might be the sticking point, meaning what, and so is part of your process to help people see the things that they've never quite seen in themselves and then elevate that?
Also the way that they approach it. So remarkably different isn't looking at a website before you go on an interview. That's what everybody does.
Sure.
Right? Remarkably different is preparing what in our world we call 100, 200, 300 level questions, right? It's a very specific reason and way that we do this. So that the questions that you ask are reflective of your remarkable point of difference. Nobody else is going to ask that question. It's not like, oh, tell me what a day in the life is like. Everybody uses that. Anything that's parody will be qualified. And remarkably different requires more intention, more work, more deliberate interest and care in what it is, the value of who you are and what you do. The fact that you're showing towards the company that you're interviewing with.
Yeah. So like for you, this kind of why of helping eliminate victimhood, career victimhood, that's the remarkable difference. That's what I hear. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's not just, oh, I'm going to be remarkable on LinkedIn and then I'm done.
Right. This is what I do.
This is a hallmark and this is a stamp of who I am so that I can be a trusted person in the world that says, yeah, like this is legit. Like what you see here is what you get when we run into each other at coffee. Yeah. When I'm lifting others up behind the scenes and, maybe, wherever. I'm not doing it for a performance. This is the thing. So that is designed also to be shared with other people who want to tap into that.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I hear in that a little bit is if I'm hiring somebody and I can spot that they have this remarkable difference, it almost shifts my expectations of what this job could be, right? I might initially have been like, we need to bring someone in to do the things, and I want to find the person who can do the things the best. And suddenly you're like, oh, it's about something well beyond that. We can do so many things that I wasn't even thinking of.
Are completely nailing it. What else makes this so great is, and so what if I'm not an AI expert, but I'm remarkably different? You think you're going to like sit there and go, she didn't really score a 95 on her Python task.
Right.
Well, it's not going to, those things are, and we know this in 2025, and, have been doing a lot of studying with respect to LinkedIn, the economics of 2025. We're in an era right now where what will make us remarkably different are not that we are able to use ChatGPT. That's not a remarkable point of difference. Everybody knows right now.
Yeah.
But what makes us remarkable are the skills that AI cannot replace.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things. So how I say it is AI isn't coming to replace you. It's coming to reveal you. It's coming to help you actually be able to tap into the things that the AI will not be able to replace.
Mm-hmm.
Curiosity, communication, collaboration, creativity, and more that I can't remember right here. But my point is that those things, you have over those. And that's what gets people hired, is being able to be adaptable and curious. How did we figure this out? Why is this? And if you can use your job search as a test bed to be able to exercise it, you're going to get hired fast.
Yeah.
That people are craving that, to not do the same old routine way of doing it and actually show your strengths. Don't tell me, show me.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like you're waking people up to a new level of possibility that I feel like the world needs so much of that right now, because I feel like there's a little bit of like feeling like we're sort of just sleeping a little bit.
We're good. I mean, I'm not the Messiah, and I don't want to be. Again, if you want this, all great. If you don't, no judgment. It's not no skin off my back. I just know my lane, and I know where we're making a difference. And I'm really kind of geeked up and excited about it. It's a great 24. It's going to be a freaking fantastic 25. And I love what I do, and I want everybody else to too. So if I have a piece of chocolate cake, I'm not going to be eating it for myself.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. But I do think, I think what you're doing is just really, it opens the door for a lot more, for people to bring a lot more into what they do. And I think that's really cool. Thank you, Loren. This has been such a fun conversation, eye-opening, challenging in a good way, kind of gets you wake up a little bit and feel like you want to take charge a little bit more. So I love that energy that you brought.
Thank you for joining today. We appreciate your listening ears. Big time. We ask this: use these tools, not tomorrow, right now, and share them by spreading the love, leaving us a rating and subscribe so you don't miss the next career blast in a half. Most of all, thank you for you.